Good evening. Good evening, and thank you very much to all of you who are listening to this part of the module of TrainMoS II program developed by the Technical University of Madrid. Hope you have had a good lunch and are ready to listen to my presentation. As an example of one European country, and being the module in Spain, I will present the way in which the administration of the coastal area, maritime affairs, and in particular port system is organized in Spain. Spain has been a model for a certain block of countries in organizing the administration of the coastal line because of historical facts. The Spanish port, maritime, and coastal industry has had in the past years a big influence in Central and South America, now influenced by other neighboring countries and by North America and Canada. The area also some North African countries that follow the Spanish model of administration of this very important part of its territory, that is the coastline and the ports and maritime systems. Northern European countries are organized in a slightly different way. The Napoleonic countries in some way have a centralized way of looking at the problem. In Spain nowadays, considering the origin of the coastal was under the same administration, and that was military administration. The coastline, the port system. Now, in Spain, we have the coastal administration within the frame of the Ministry of Agriculture. That is from quite recent times, and the maritime administration depends directly of the Ministry of Development. In former times, the Ministry of Public Works, and before that, Ministry of Development. Now, Spain is organizing the constitution, our recent constitution, in autonomical territories, and in the coastal area, we distinguish the coastal territory under the administration of the Ministry of Agriculture. Thus, the coastline belongs to the whole of the Spanish people and is administered by the central government. And the ports in the coastline, we distinguish between two types of ports. Those ports that attend important traffic in which more than one autonomical territory is involved, at least two, and other small ports such as fishing ports or sport ports or small port installations for local commercial traffic. Now, the huge important port system in Spain, we have Spain is the Spanish territory, occupies the Iberian Peninsula plus 2 blocks of islands, the Balearic Islands and the Canary Islands, plus 2 Spanish cities in Northern Africa, which, by the way, are the only terrestrial borders that Europe has with Africa. Those are the autonomical cities of Ceuta and Melilla. Ceuta right in the beginning of the Mediterranean mouth of the Strait of Gibraltar, and Melilla also in the Gibraltar area, but more specifically in what's known as the Alboran Sea. The Spanish big ports attending international traffic or with hinterland affecting more than one autonomical territory are 46 and are managed by 28 port authorities that are in charge of the development, commercial aspects of the maritime traffic within those ports. Now, those ports are managed by a council of direction of the port, and the autonomical territory has a presence in that board of direction of 51%. That's slightly over half, just 1%. But in that board, that 1% and the central state, the government, has 49%. This means that although almost half of the port should be managed and is managed by the state, that 1% makes a big difference and makes that specific managerial aspects, such as naming president of the port and other important decisions within the port administration system, depend a lot on the autonomical government. The situation, the administrative and political situation of the port system in the Spanish territory are quite different in concept between those ports located in the peninsula itself, where competitiveness between ports can be established and is considered to be something very positive, and those ports located in the islands, the Balearic Islands, or in the Canary Islands, or in Ceuta, in Melilla, which are I insist, the only door for commerce to come into the city of Ceuta or Melilla or the different islands of the Balearic archipelago or the Canary Islands. The situation, administration, and management of the small ports in the different autonomical territories are coordinated in general by an autonomical port company owned and managed by the autonomical government. The whole system of what's called ports of state general interest, is coordinated through an entity which is a public enterprise depending on the Ministry of Development. It's called Puertos del Estado. State Ports is the name of the company. And Puertos del Estado tries to coordinate the whole Spanish port system, considered as a system, as a whole, and has representation in every one of the port authorities in charge of managing the different ports of general and of state interest, and that entity, Puertos del Estado, is in charge of canalizing European aids, relations between the ports authorities and the Ministry of Development, and with the government in general, and definitely answering the questions in the Parliament about the port system. "28 port authorities," I recently said. Those are the ones of Barcelona, Tarragona, in the Catalonian territory, Port Authority of Baleares, in charge of all the ports, at least one per island of the Balearic archipelagos, and in the big island of Palma, 2 ports, Castellón, Valencia, Alicante, Cartagena, Almería, Motril, which in the old times was linked to Almería, but some years ago split it into a different port authority, Málaga, Algeciras, and in the northern African territories, Ceuta and Melilla, and in the Atlantic, southern part of Spain, Huelva and Cádiz, and the only port of Spain to which you arrive after navigating in the river Wad al-Kibir, which in Arabic Wad means water and Kibir big, is the river, big river, Rio River Wad al-Kibir. And in the Atlantic area of Spain, we have in the Galicia area, Vigo, Pontevedra, Villagarcía, Coruña, Ferrol, and then in Asturias, Avilera, Gijón, in Cantabria, Santander, in the Basque Country, Bilbao and Pasajes. Now, those ports are in competence, some of them, or specialized others. I have to say that if we begin, for example, from northwest Spain, that is Galicia, we find the port of Vigo. The port of Vigo is a port with a natural protection from the sea waves through a set group of islands that protect the wharf and quays of Vigo from the rough seas And within this sea area, the port of Vigo is developed, and the city of Vigo has developed close and integrated within the port. This port also benefits from the existence of a large car industry. Citroën cars are produced here and are exported through this part of the port of Vigo. With a similar configuration but a very different size of the port, we can find the port of Marín in the Ria de Pontevedra, which is a small port in comparison with the very important port of Vigo, and that was the first one to be connected to land with a railway, the 19th century. Garcia, another small port with the same configuration as the other ones, and then we move to a very important system, which is the Coruña Ferrol port area. Actually, Coruña and Ferrol are, from the administrative point of view, different ports, and from the commercial and political management of those areas, Ferrol and Coruña are completely different, but from the geographical point of view, these two ports, at least looking at them from the sea, there's not much difference between Coruña and Ferrol. Now, because these administrative affairs, this area needed a larger capacity to operate goods using ships and linking those goods to the land transport system, roads mainly, and railway. And Ferrol was the first one to develop a very interesting enlargement of the port in a quite reasonable, cheap way. Now, because Ferrol had been enlarged as a port and not being covered all the new facilities of the new port, Coruña tried to develop and developed a new port, which, because of the geographical configuration of the area, had little places except this part here, I'm showing here, known as Langosteira, to develop the port. But this area is one of the most exposed areas in the world, one of the 3 areas, coastlines in the world, where most energy is arriving from the waves, being the waves the system to transmit energy coming from the wind to the sea surface. Que sea, sí, sí, de verdad. Los demás. ¿Estamos oyendo o no? Just 1 minute. We are going to make some technical arrangements within the system. I hope everybody is listening to us. Seems that people with Apple computers have some difficulties in following us, but we will manage to solve the problems so that everybody that wants to follow us can follow us easily and in a convenient way. No toda la lista en qué orden viene, ¿no? ¿Cómo me acerco? ¿Cómo me puedo acercar? Aquí. Ok. So it seems that everybody is now able to follow us, and that the small life problems, some of the students following us have been solved so that everybody can follow us easily. Yes, 1 minute more to try to finish the computer configuration so that quiero lo anterior. Yo no tengo idea del orden ni nada. Que no tengo idea del orden ni he puesto cartel ni nada. No. La presentación ya no puedo volver a ella, ¿o sí? Es que sí. Vale, sí. ¿Cuánto tiempo tengo? No, espera. Puede estar. Mira. Vale. Pinchas aquí y cuando quieras cambiar, pinchas aquí. Perfecto. Ya tienes las dos. Vale. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. So, excuse us, we will continue. So, this is a very important port area system, which on the other hand has been the naval base, one of the 3 important naval bases of Spain. We have had lots of trouble with different naval important countries in history, such as mainly with Britain. And we'll come back to this very important maritime and port system. Ferrol is a part of that system. Now, moving to Asturias, a similar thing has happened in the past between the port of Avilés here, which is within this area, and the port of Gijón. Avilés and Gijón have sometimes been managed as 2 different port authorities and others as just one. Santander is another important the port of the Cantabrian Authority. We'll come back to these ports, but I would like to show you or to discuss the evolution of some ports. For example, This in the Mediterranean area. This is the port, a photograph from Google from the port of Barcelona. The configuration of all the ports in the Mediterranean is quite similar. We have here a mountain. This mountain is Montjuïc, known as Montjuïc, which is a mountain where the military power creates a castle and where the military power is established. Generally, there is a river nearby. Always the river is to the south of the military castle or mountain with castle. And then the commercial activities begin to develop in a beach or similar to a beach that generates the development of the city. In this case, the development of the city of Barcelona close to this beach that soon a quay is built and begins to be the quay of the port of Barcelona. Now, to increase the number of port operations within the quay of the port of Barcelona, a breakwater is built. But once the breakwater is built, because of the dynamic of sediments in the coastline, a new area is generated. In the case of Barcelona, all this area which used to be sea is a new territory that has appeared as a consequence of building the breakwater of Levante, the eastern breakwater, or northeastern breakwater, known as eastern breakwater, Dique de Levante. Now, because these new lands, first of all, they are not very healthy, they are dangerous because they can be overflooded by the sea and water, and they have no owner because they are new, they were seen in the past. So poor people, fishermen, and people arriving to the city with not enough money to buy a house or to buy a plot, established there. That area is known as La Barceloneta. For many years during the 19th and beginning of the 20th century, the poorest area of Barcelona. But time passes and the port enlarges and the dike of Levante, the eastern dike, grows and grows and grows and grows and continue growing wide parallel to the coastline to avoid coming to big depths and to be able to develop the quays nearby, the transport road system and the railway system, so that goods can pass quickly from the ship to the road or railway system and be evacuated from the port area, or vice versa. Containers and goods coming from the different industries in the Barcelona area, the rest of Catalonia and the rest of Spain, and coming to be put on top of a ship in the Barcelona port area. We find here an important container terminal. This terminal is known as TCB, Terminal de Containers de Barcelona, which was the mother area to develop what now is, or what was still recent days, the 20th container operator in the world. Now, Maersk Line has bought this terminal and all the other terminals in different ports in Spain and outside Spain belonging to this important maritime company. This is another terminal of containers, which is managed by a different company that's establishing competence. And that brings on top of the table one of the big problems. Would it be better to Barcelona to have one terminal, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, how many? Which is the optimum number of terminals? Which is the optimum size of each terminal? Those are not easy questions to answer. This area, which is separated from the city of Barcelona, is the area known as Muelle de Inflamables, quay of products that can explode or come into flame. And you find plus dirty installations. Actually, the company in charge of recollecting the garbage, the rubbish, what was nothing in the city of Barcelona and in the port of Barcelona is managed in this area. Now, as ships develop bigger and bigger and bigger, the port needs bigger quays, bigger depths, and has moved this way. Now, these initial old port areas have to be transformed or integrated in these very, very poor communities. That is much more sensible for the people living in this area, simply to move to another area according to their economic level and educational level. And that is a process that's been taking place. Now in Barcelona, when in 1992 the Olympic Games were assignated to this city, we had to find a place to install the Olympic Village. And the whole of Barcelona was built. So the only possibility was here between these two rivers, the Besòs and the Llobregat, here, and in all this area, and this new, completely new area, we decided here and a little bit here, new Olympic village could be built. And it was built, and it was a big success. Now, in this area, which remember was one of the poorest areas of the city of Barcelona, because of this transformation, it moved in being one of the richest part of Barcelona, with artificial beaches, with a new sports port, thus making it no more necessary this small port in El Candado unless it grows a lot. And it doesn't seem that the Andalusian government is going to permit that enlargement. This means, well, this permitted to develop these sport ports in these new facilities within the Olympic Games area. Now the old port began to be used by yachts and sports boats. So to avoid those shipping navigating along all these long, long way. The dike was cut to permit establishing a new way out to sea without having to move inside the port. And this is something which has been recently approved, financed, and built. The port of Tarragona, close to Barcelona, is a port in a general fight between the river, the sea, and the city. The old city found in its limit the river that has given them their lives. This is the old port of Tarragona, a first new development to have an area to move containers, a second area, and finally a third one. The port of Tarragona is one of the most important industrial ports in Spain. It moves a lot of liquid bulk and also of dry bulk. Tarragona is close, quite close to Barcelona, and the relation between these two ports is excellent and complementary. Tarragona has a good railway network and uses a large number of locomotives in charge of moving goods and wagons within the port. Another very important port in the Mediterranean area is the port of Valencia. You can follow here how this port has evolved. Here you can see the old port of Valencia was right this area, and within this port the breakwater of the east was built. Immediately a beach appeared close or supported by this breakwater. The land access to the port is definitely clearly established. These are the access roads to access from land from the city, which is to the left, in the upper left part of the photograph, the city of Valencia, and the port of Valencia. And the way out of the port was here. But new developments of the port were made. This area, first place, was the sea, and this one, and this container terminal, and all this. And we expect a lot of development yet to come in this important part of Spain. The old river which came to the sea through this line I'm showing here was deviated to here, so that from here to here, all this part of the port could be developed. And it is a really important area where containers are moved close to the industrial support area of Valencia, together with areas to move dry bulk. Same time, in this area, a Formula One racing track has been built and takes place. The port, Motril. Motril is a port in the province of Granada. It was during the 500 years that the Moorish occupied the Iberian Peninsula, it was the goal to come from Africa to Europe and from Europe to Africa. This port in the province of Granada is directly connected to Granada through a road that is always going downside from the sea to the Granada mountains and to the Moorish castle of La Alhambra, all this way up and way up and way up. Now, some years ago, this port has recovered its independence, and from the old port, it has been enlarged to one side and to another side. Now, there is a lesson pending, and that is how to fill with goods all this new generated area. Definitely, Motril is developing important new passenger traffics with North Africa, particularly with Melilla, and it's a huge distributor of gasoline and gas oil to the southern part of Spain, because in ports like Malaga it is not so easy to move gasoline and diesel because of political and social concern. So in this huge new port, which is the port of Madrid, close to the city of Motril, but far away enough so as to permit industrial activities to develop here without big social and political problems. From the configuration of the beaches that are close to the ships, it is very easy to deduct the direction and quantity of the total net littoral drift. The port of Malaga, in the very old city of Malaga. Here you cannot see it in the photograph, but here you have the the mountain Gibraltar with the castle. You have here the river, Wad al Medina, Wad River, al the Medina ciudad, Rio Wad al Medina, the river of the city. That is the name of Arabic of this river, the river of the city. Now, the old wharfs of Bala were right here, but there were not enough draft, so they moved out to the sea. Now, to protect this operated area, a breakwater to the east was built. Immediately, the breakwater was built. Immediately, the littoral drift began to deliver sediments to the area and created a place known as La Malagueta, similar to the situation in Barcelona with La Barceloneta. Now, this initial breakwater, eastern breakwater, followed by a construction of a contradike. Later on, this contradike was moved to this place, thus leaving here the entrance of the port. Next enlargement produced this breakwater, and this enlargement of the contradike, which now has been absorbed by the construction of the new container terminal. Now, the quays moved from this area to this to find draft. Now, all this land I am focusing your attention here, all this block was sea in the time when Carlos del Castillo was president of the government of Spain. Now, this area was gained to the sea, and the question put on top of the table, and that is a question that was put in times of Cánovas del Castillo, but it is a question that it is also put now continuously in a lot of cities all over Europe. Because in this new concept of ports, these old areas which are useless for the new port concept and configuration, they are of enormous value to the city. So this relation city-port, port-city, both parts have much to gain and nothing to lose. That is to say, that is a gain-to-gain project. Because whatever you do, you will gain always. Now, the Port of Malaga followed the construction of this other dike with a new outer dike around here. Later on, this area has been constructed, and the new dike also. Thus, Malaga now has one of the longest quays in the world. And there's a peculiarity, and that is that up from here, all these dikes are breakwater dikes, while this one is a reflecting vertical dike. It is surprising that Spain, which was the motherland of Iribarren, produces works which do not adjust to the dimensions fixed by Don Ramon Iribarren. But in any case, this was a maneuvering and an area to be waiting to come into port, either because the tariff was too high, being by night, or for other reasons. But with the construction of a vertical reflectant dike, all this area can no more be used as a waiting area. Very important, with a lot of history, the port of Cádiz. The port of Cádiz in the island of Cádiz. This was one of the old entrances to Cádiz. Now, the new port of Cádiz with developments at both sides, and this bridge connection, which has been recently finished and inaugurated by the different local authorities and governmental authorities. The old city of Cádiz is located here. This seems to be the very old shore that served as place to go. The port of Huelva is a very interesting case of configuration of a port in the river mouth, moreover in the confluences of two rivers, Tinto and Ubiel. Tinto because of its color. So these two rivers create a reasonable area to develop a port, but while this area is quite stable, this right area is growing continuously because of the sediments that the system has and brings to the littoral drift from the area, the west. This is a completely different port in a completely different area. Is the port of Vigo we will be before. The port of Vigo with the terminal serving the Citroën factory, and a large number of individual independent port installations, some of them belonging to the military and others not. And a bridge connecting both sides. It was not until this bridge was built that people from here could go there in rough weather and in stormy conditions. Nowadays, there's a perfect communication between both shores. The port Coruña we were discussing before, with the new development of Altasia and the old port of Coruña, which seems will continue to be an important port for many years to come, because the initial plan to occupy by the city the spaces of the Gijón area cannot be anymore achieved by the system. A very curious and important part of this port is the installation of now this is the port of Gijón. Well, actually, this part is the old port of Gijón, and this used to be the port of Musel. So this port are two ports, Gijón and Musel, but they are so close that nowadays all the area is known as the port of Gijón. Now the port of Gijón moved through this quay more coal and iron ore than all the rest of Spanish ports together. But that product was stored back here behind the mountain that was crossed by belts and small tunnels. So the ship moved the coal or the ore here, and then it went by belt or car or truck or not now, but in the future, railway vehicle to this storage area, which is not close to the quay, moreover separated by a mountain that is crossed by a tunnel. So this is one of clear example of how and why and where the storage area is not near the quay itself. It doesn't have to be. Now, the access by railway to the port of Gijón is excellent up to the entrance of the port, and then a number of operations have to be accomplished within the port itself. First of all, to be able to develop bunkering of different products within the area, and also to profit from its exceptional situation within the hinterland that reaches even past the area of León. Now, this port expected to grow in traffic, what still has not grown, and some questions if anytime it will grow, but the extension of the port of Gijón was projected as if a completely new project was developed and built. And this is the new breakwater of the extension of the port of Gijón, and all this part of the port has been built, creating a much favorable situation for the plant of Gijón. Now, the port of Bilbao. Port of Bilbao is the big main port in the northern Spain since the oldest times. The port of Bilbao developed in the interior, you can't even see it here, in the interior of this river. In the interior of this river, but the bigger and bigger size of the ships forced to get out from the river here, out here, first of all building this breakwater and this counter breakwater. This was the first important breakwater built in Spain. This you can visit this small piece of breakwater, which is really a historical monument to the engineer, author of the project and works that led to be able to have this breakwater here and this breakwater here that configured the new port installations in the 1950s, more or less. Now, in around beginning a little bit before 1980, what was then the biggest breakwater ever been built in Spain. Here with depths of over 50 meters, and the enormous waves are arriving the breakwater. And this breakwater, which was built with products coming from the continent, experienced a slight damage within one stone right here. Now, what to do? When there is damage in a breakwater, because it may and usually is progressive, the damage, the breakwater must be substituted immediately. So the easiest way would be to have moved this refinery and this ship to another place, to any place, and just having left Lano stayed up for 50 days. But the port of Bilbao developed the berths to serve the big refinery in the area. The big mountain, which was almost degluted by the dike itself, to haven't been able to build it is a clear example of development of a port that begins its days within a river, and as it needs more water, more space for the ships, for bigger ships, it has to go outside and look for new locations and for new equipment and definitely for new people. Thank you very much for being following me at this time of the day after lunch. Now, let me bring your attention to one of our two cities in Northern Africa. This is the port of Ceuta, separated by this channel. This island to the left, to the right, where the artillery forces find a way, a place to be, and the port of Ceuta, the new port of Ceuta with a large terminal being built. The old ways of Ceuta, for what Ceuta has bet, is not for increasing the breakwaters or the quay line, but their scarce resource is space. So what Ceuta needs is space, land. And this project can bring you a lot of land if we discuss it adequately with the actors involved. Another important port, the other important port is the one of Melilla in the autonomical city of Melilla. This port is developed around this mountain with the military defense area up here and the communication with the sea through this channel, which is almost lost nowadays. Not lost, but almost. In many years, this area was just a transfer of cargo beach. But finally, the eastern water was built and quays could develop at the shadow of that breakwater. And in the future, we expect this port to grow a lot, because there is no possibility to establish a sports port in Morocco in the nearby area. The city and the port developed the touristic port of Melilla, where people find a place to relax and to read and to be comfortable within Spanish territory in northern Africa. The island of Mallorca is a place where a very important port is established, the port of Palma de Mallorca, which has a nice and rich history. This port initially was here, and it grew the dike grew and grew, and the counter-dike did not grow. I haven't seen the main reason why you lived in the company, I'm not sure. But in any case, here was the old port that was large several times. I understand that when you get short in meters of queries and in square meters of storage capacity, but it's not so easy to make a mistake in the needs of breakwaters. In any case, this port began to enlarge, and to a point next enlargement came to an area known as part3. Part3 is where our king, the former king and the new king of Spain, spent their holidays. So this area is a very nice area. Everybody, but particularly to as a gate to come into the island of Palma. This is the river that has been slightly, and this is the main quay of Palma, where most goods come in. The port has been moving from this area to this area, and from this area to that area, and so on. Now, here is the Cathedral of Palma in the heights, and the old city of Palma, higher than the lowlands close to the port area. So that from this big palace or house, enormous house, you can control what's going on the whole port of Palma, which has this old and actual port in use, this fishing port area, and the new development of the port here is a completely new commercial development of the port, and Palma has become one of the first touristic destinations in Europe to sail and to have sports navigation. All these quays are for sports boats. Now, Palma needs to receive both fast ferries and ferries linking the city of Palma with the peninsula. And that takes place from these ferry terminals, but also it has a large number of cruise lines that are developing quite quickly. And this touristic area will develop in those lines in the future, clearly. As every one of you listening to me now can understand, when you have all this port development surrounded by the city, there are several things which are quite clear. First of all the gas emissions in these quays are a trouble to all the citizens. All the traffic by land along this road bordering the port, which is the main road to serve the port, will be congestionated all day. So something has to be done. It's clear. You only need 6 cruise ships to block or put together 2 ROPACs and 3 transatlantic ships, blocked and so on. How do you avoid that blocking? Well, one possibility is bringing the traffic from this quay to this one here and putting out into outer route directly goods from this area out this way, without crossing the middle of the city. This is a new concept, and that is the city for the citizens and the port for the goods. But there's a big problem, and that is that goods do not vote in democracy, but create richness and employees. So the situation is not so easy to manage. I want to show you this port also in the island of Menorca. It will appear on your screen, which has the particularity of being the largest port in the Mediterranean. And some of you will say, no, that is not true. Then I will have to tell you sí. ¿Cuántos alumnos hay? Cambia lista ahora sí, ya estás. ¿Hay algunos? Sí. Sí, sí, ya está. So, this is the second biggest natural port in the world. The first one is Pearl Harbor. The second one is Mahon. This is a large port where the city, here is the city of Mahon, and you find almost every single element of a maritime environment. You have the military base since the time of Lord Nelson. Actually, Lord Nelson was married to a lady in England and lived with another lady who lived here. The old part of the port has two quite different areas. The military base and military naval base, actually during Second World War, the area where torpedoes were stored and charge of air. and the wharves linked to the city and the development of the city itself, plus the fishing area now transformed in sports port area in one of the most